Hello guys, my name is Mohammed Hussein. Module 6, Lesson 3, Names and Formulas for Ionic Compounds. Here we have focus question. What are the names and formulas of ionic compounds? We will discuss new vocabularies, formula unit, monatomic ion, polyatomic ion, and oxygen ion. Non-metal, an element that is generally a gas or a dull, brittle solid and is poor conductor of heat and electricity. The chemical formula for an ionic compound, called a formula unit, represents the simplest ratio of the ions involved. For example, the formula unit of magnesium chloride is MgCl2 because the magnesium and chloride ions exist in a ratio of 1 to 2. The formula unit for MgCl2 contains 1 Mg plus 2 ion and 2 Cl minus 1 ion for a total charge of 0. A monatomic ion is a one-atom ion such as Mg plus 2 or Br minus 1. The table below gives the charge of common monatomic ions according to their location on the periodic table. For example, group 1, hydrogen, lithium, sodium, and so on, they are plus 1. Group 2, they are plus 2. Is group 1, all of them plus 1. Group 2, they are plus 2. Group 15, they are minus 3. Here's group 15, they are minus 3. Group 16, they start with oxygen, they are minus 2. And the last we have group 17, halogens, they are minus 1. Rules for writing chemical formulas for binary ionic compounds. The symbol of the cation is always written first. By the way, binary is mean combined of two sections. Binary ions compounds mean two sections, the positive and negative section. The symbol of the cation is always written first, followed by the symbol of the anion. It means the positive first and the negative coming after the positive. Because we know the cation is positive, anion is mean negative charge. Subscripts represent the number of ions of each element in an ionic compound. If the subscript is 1, it is not written. The total charge of the compound must be equal to 0. For example, Mg is a positive charge, writing first. Positive ion is plus 2. After that, I have Cl is minus 1, and we have 2 of them. Here is the number I called subscript. Here we have example for formula for an ionic compound. Determine the formula for the ionic compounds formed from potassium and oxygen. If we have a look at the periodic table, here is the potassium. It's from group 1. So as we said, group 1, it is a positive 1, and oxygen is from group 16. It has a charge of minus 2. Here is the cation, and here is the anion. So we'll write down the symbol of potassium. We put the positive charge. After that, we write down the symbol of oxygen, and with the charge minus 2. First, we have the positive charge K, because positive 1. O is minus 2. So we must multiply the one positive 1. We must multiply K by 2. So we'll have 2 positive charge plus minus 2. It will become, the total charge becomes 0. Like this. 2 potassium ion with the charge of plus 1 plus 1 oxygen atom with a charge of minus 2. The total charge must be 0, and here we are. We have problem number 2. Determine the formula for the compound formed of aluminum ions and sulfide ions. The aluminum is +3 and sulfide is -2. Here's the same group with oxygen. Here's the aluminum, group 13, and here's the sulfide, group 16. So the formula will be Al2S3. Al, aluminum, has the charge of 3 +3, so we'll multiply it by 2. And sulfide is -2, we will multiply it by 3, so the total charge will be 0. We have polyatomic ions. Polyatomic ions are ions that are made up more than one atom. For example, we have ammonium ion, NH4 plus 1, and we have phosphate ion, PO4 minus 3. Here we have a table of common polyatomic ions. You have to memorize them. Ammonium, NH4 plus, nitrite, NO2 minus, nitrate, NO3 minus, hydroxide, OH minus, cyanide, Cn minus, permanganate, MnO4 minus. When I said minus, it means -1. Hydrogen carbonate, HCO3 minus. Hypochlorite, ClO minus. Chlorite, ClO2 minus. Chlorate, ClO3 minus. Perchlorate, ClO4 minus. Bromate, BrO3 minus. Iodate, IO3 minus. Periodate, IO4 minus. Acetate, C2H3O2 minus. Dihydrogen phosphate, H2PO4 minus. Carbonate, CO3 minus 2. Sulfite, SO3 minus 2. Sulfate, SO4 minus 2. Thiosulfate, S2O3 minus 2. Peroxide, O2 minus 2. Chromate, CrO4 minus 2. Dichromate, Cr2O7 minus 2. Hydrogen phosphate, HPO4 minus 2. Phosphate, PO4 minus 3. Arsenate, ASO4 minus 3. Rules for writing chemical formulas for the polyatomic ionic compound. Since polyatomic ions exist as a unit, never change subscript of the atoms within the ion. If more than one polyatomic ion is needed, place a parenthesis around the ion and write the appropriate subscript outside the parenthesis. A compound formed by calcium ions and phosphate ions. We have calcium plus 2 is from group 2 and phosphate is PO4 minus 3 as we saw it in the table. So we will have 3 calcium atom with a charge of plus 2 plus 2 group of PO4 phosphate. The charge of PO4 is minus 3. To make the total charge 0, we need 3 calcium atom plus 2 phosphate group. So 3 calcium plus 2 phosphate group minus 3. The answer will be, the total charge will be 0. Rules for naming oxyanions. An oxyanion is a polyatomic ion composed of element, usually a nonmetal, bonded to one or more oxygen atoms. More than one oxyanion exists for some nonmetals, such as nitrogen and sulfur. Oxyanion naming conventions for sulfur and nitrogen. First, identify the ion with the greatest number of oxygen atoms. This ion is named using the root of the nonmetal and the suffix "ate". Here we have, for example, nitrate and nitrite. Nitrate has more oxygen atom. It will have suffix "ate". We can call it nitrate. And this one has less oxygen atom. We called it nitrite. Here we have sulfate and sulfite. It has 4 oxygen atom, more than 3. and it has less oxygen atom. So we call this sulfate. It has the suffix ate, and the less oxygen atom will get the ite, sulfite. An oxyanion naming for convention of chlorine. We have four types of oxyanion of chlorine. The chlorine that has more oxygen atom, the most oxygen atoms, it will come with the prefix per and the suffix ate, like this ClO4 minus 1, perchlorate. After that we have the chlorine oxyanion with the 3 oxygen atoms. It will just take the suffix ate. We can call it chlorate. The next one is the one with 2 oxygen atoms. It will take the suffix ite, so we can call it chlorite. And the one with the less oxygen atoms is just one oxygen atom, ClO minus. It will take the prefix hypo and the suffix ite, and we called it hypochlorite. Rules for naming ionic compounds. First, name the cation followed by an ion. Remember that cation is always written first in the formula. For monatomic cation, use the element name. For monatomic anion, use the root of the element's name plus the suffix "ide". Number 4. To distinguish between multiple oxidation numbers of the same element, the oxidation number is written as a Roman numeral in parentheses after the name of the cation. Number 5. Use the name of the polyatomic ion in the place of the anion or cation. Here we have example. For example, we have Na3PO4. Determine the cation and anion for the or of the given formula. Here we have the cation and this part is anion. Does the cation have only one oxidation number? In Na3PO4, Na just have one oxidation number. So we said yes. Write the name of cation, then write the name of the anion. So it will become sodium phosphate. Example number 2, we have Fe2O3. We are determining the cation and anion. The cation will be Fe2, anion will be O3. Does the cation have only one oxidation number? Nope, because ion has two oxidation number, +2 and +3, and in this situation we have +3. It will become like ion 3 oxide. Quiz number 1. What is the chemical formula for an ionic compound called? Which of the following is not the monatomic ion? Which is true of the chemical formula of ionic compound? What is an ion that is made up of more than one atom called? What is the name for NH4 by 2S? Thank you so much. See you in the next lesson.